And the Ospreys welcome us to another session of McDuff Lives. Hello, everybody. I'm John O'Loughlin. Welcome to McDuff Lives. It's June the 13th, 2025, 11, maybe 10 seconds or so. We got off on a really good time start this morning. So,
Yeah, pretty good.
Marcia, Keith, thank you for joining me once again.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for letting me join you.
Oh, it's always fun. It's always a pleasure and a good way to start off, our weekend because this is my last show for the week.
And tomorrow is Flag Day.
Oh, you got your flag? I got my
do.
flag.
I have my
I got
flag.
my flag, yeah.
She's a grand old flag.
She's a high-flying flag.
Yes, she is.
And forever in peace may she wave. Now, there's a problem right there.
Peace?
Peace, yeah.
Not very peaceful around the world right now.
I know. Nobody wants us to be in peace. That's the whole problem is that...
Well, peace isn't very prosperous.
It's not profitable.
Right.
No,
Right.
Well, I mean, look, the problem that this country has, I have figured out the solution, and I know you're not surprised to know that I have solved the problem that we have.
Knew you would.
Well, here's the solution. It is a constitutional amendment. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the essence of the constitutional amendment is financial reorganization.
Okay, go ahead. More.
The premise is, from time to time, due to political and other considerations, the United States may become indebted beyond its ability, practically, to repay the debt, which interferes with the right functioning of the Constitution, interferes with individual rights, and interferes with the political process in that paying the interest on the debt becomes part of the carrying charges that, as it grows, crowds out more important agenda items.
Right.
Therefore, the Congress is empowered from time to time to reduce the national debt. And then there will be regulations that say, well, you go through the debts in terms of how realistic are they anyway? Could they ever be collected? And if they couldn't, then just write them off. Then
reduce the debt by writing them off.
You have to reduce the debt. And it's like a bankruptcy process.
Okay.
Or a Chapter 13, if you've ever understood, if you have a house, but you don't want to lose the house, so you work out monthly payments on a reduced schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you do. You just go to all the banks and say, well, you know what? We've reached that point now, and I'm sorry, but you're all going to have to take a haircut. Okay. And here's the scissors. And you guys, you want to propose, how to do it? Sure, we'll listen. But by the end of this term, we're going to have to reduce the national debt by 50%. And if it's in the Constitution, then we can do it. The problem that we have right now is that the Congress is so controlled that none of them are able to step up and say, hey, when the kings of England were overly indebted, they just wrote off the debt. They did it to the Jews a lot. They'd say, oh, yeah, let me borrow 2 million golden pounds from the Rothschilds, but then this king or that king gets in trouble financially and says, oh, you know what? I can't pay that one. So you guys are out.
But here's my question. If I'm a bank, why would I lend you money knowing that you could at any point choose to not repay me?
Because you need to do something with that money. You can't just let it sit around.
But I don't want to do something that is so high risk. I might as well just give it away to somebody.
Yeah, well, you're talking about prospectively in the future, but in terms of right now, this debt is not payable. And I don't care whether they think it's payable or not. It's not payable.
Well, no, it's not payable, but at least somebody's making payments.
Yeah, making payments, and that's what they like.
Right.
That's like free money to them.
Right. So I'll lend you money because I know that you'll make payments to me on a
Yeah.
regular basis.
Yeah.
But if you're going to at some point say, no, I'm not going to make payments to you anymore, I'm just going to write it off, then why should I lend you money?
Well, because you went through bankruptcy and you improved your credit score over a couple of years.
No, if I'm a bank, why should I lend you money?
Because you want to make money off of the loan.
But I'm not going to make money if you're going to stop paying me and get away with it.
I said I'm going to stop paying from time to time, according to Congress's judgment, in that we are now in a bankruptcy situation, which we are. If we're, the old adage I like is, if you're in a hole, stop digging.
Right. I agree with that. I mean, the amount of digging that has gone on. I saw some graph recently that shows that our debt has grown exponentially just in the last 20 years. And I'm thinking, what has happened in the last 20 years that merits that kind of spending?
And it's emergency after emergency, from 9/11 to
It's crazy.
to the medical stuff. And honestly, during the Biden and Obama administrations is when it's really gone crazy. But especially under Biden, when we were saying, oh, let's just print another $3 trillion and give it to big pharma. That's the problem,
Right. Right.
So,
this is my solution. My solution is you limit, first of all, there is a pool of money, and the money can come from wherever. It can come from government, it can come from the private sector, but it is a limited pool of money. And that's the amount of money that is available to finance campaigns. And that's the only source of campaign money. And it's just one great big pool of money, and whoever contributes to it is anonymous. You contribute to this pool of money. That's it.
You're talking about campaign funds.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that's a tiny amount of money compared to the national debt.
No, but here's the thing. If politicians can't get money from corporations, then they're going to stop behaving in ways that benefit the corporation and balloon the national debt.
All right, so I'll take your solution after we get rid of the national debt by some type of bankruptcy.
All right. I think it's a one-time thing, though, your solution, because if it's an ongoing thing, no one's going to lend us money. Of course, why do we need to borrow money? Why can't we just live within our means?
Yeah, and we could if we had a productive economy instead of a speculative economy.
Right.
So that, but in a nutshell, this country's priorities have been skewed so badly in favor of paying an unpayable national debt that it is a national security problem. And I think in the name of national security, we need to have a manageable debt. And those debts that, are over $30 trillion now are just not manageable in any way, shape, or form. And so they can constitute a burden on the future forever and ever and ever until finally the wheels come off and it crashes.
All right. So we don't have the debt. How does that contribute to peace? Because that's where this started.
Yeah.
In peacetime.
Yeah.
The reference to peace.
Forever in peace may she wave.
Forever in peace may she wave.
Amen.
Yes, indeed. So without the national debt, let's talk about that. What does that do to create forever peace?
To create forever peace, you have to have a national economy built on productivity. Okay?
Okay.
If we built this national economy the way that has been described by Anton Chaikin in his book, Who We Are, and other people like Nancy, anyway, Harley Schlanger, sorry, I can't remember Nancy's last name, but people that fostering what they call the American system. And I think it is the American system, original American system, where government and private industry combine to create progress, to create railroads, to create factories, to create steel, to make ships, to do all of the things that are necessary for the transport of goods and people and the spread of information and the infrastructure that sits there to produce things, to make stuff.
Right.
And there the investment that comes into the banks goes into a productive capacity that then creates jobs and allows towns to survive and grow and turn into bigger towns. And the whole idea of, when that's how you win the peace race, is that we have the most productive and well-oiled internal production machine of all the other countries. So we're not going to need to go. The reason that we don't have peace is because we're always our powers that be behind the Congress, behind the president, have a strong interest in extracting resources from other countries. So we don't need to do that. The only reason that we do it is to increase the profit of these existing wealth centers like corporations and the old aristocratic families.
But don't we need the resources to build things and to make things and to create things?
Yeah, we have resources.
Okay.
It's just cheaper to get them overseas.
Ah, I see.
Yeah. You think there's, the Rocky Mountains are not full of the same stuff that the Asian mountains are full of?
Yeah.
Sure they are.
Yeah.
So, okay. So problem solved. All right. What's next?
Let's see. Well, Corky is getting roofing estimates, so we'll be in and out today.
Okay. Don't worry, Corky. It only leaks when it rains.
Yeah, we went through that, 2 years ago, a year ago? I don't remember how long ago it was that we got the new roof, but
as long as it's not raining, everything's fine.
Yeah, but I tell you, that process of getting roofing estimates, that made my head spin because range, oh my gosh.
Don't even suggest on your social media that you have any interest in roofing products whatsoever. I mean, don't even say roof, just because you're going to get inundated with thousands and thousands of people, oh, look at these new metal roofs we can do. These are the best things ever. And you get, it's just one of the things that it just triggers their AI,
Yes.
I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we ended up with a good roof. Our leak went away. We had a leak for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And finally said, we can't just keep fixing this leak. We got to get a new roof. And we did. And no more leak.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that, Corky. Unnatural interdependence by CFR agents got us here. I'm not sure what CFR is.
She's referring to the infamous Council on Foreign Relations.
Ah.
A think tank in New York modeled after the Royal Institute of International Affairs and Chatham House in London, and coordinated so as to effect British policy through American channels.
I see.
And policy.
I see.
Yeah. So, the CFR is definitely part of it. And the Bilderbergers are meeting right now. So,
are they?
Yeah. So we can.
I didn't know that was in session. I didn't get my invitation.
No. See, they didn't want to hear from you.
I know. What's that? What's up with that?
Well, they've got certain, people that they rely on. You read about the Committee of 300 in John Coleman's book, and learn about the Bilderbergers. But the Bilderbergers is one of those places where they get together, they have secret consultations, and then they can't talk about it when they leave. They say, "Oh, did you talk to Ursula von der Leyen at the Bilderberger?" Oh yeah, I did. What'd you talk about? Sorry, can't tell you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, Paula says that right now they're talking about depopulation.
They are, huh?
Yeah,
Well, at least they're admitting it.
I guess so. I'm not quite sure, what methodology they're exploring, but we can
Yeah.
all kind of guess, can't we?
Yeah, let's give a plug to Martin Armstrong too. I don't know, Marcia, if you're familiar with Martin Armstrong, but he's an economist who's been very prolific and over 30 years now, really, I think a highly reliable commentator. So you can see Martin Armstrong on YouTube.
Martin Armstrong. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
With some good economic explanations. Well, thank you, Donnie Bobo Brazil.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Donnie Bobo Brazil. Okay. Thank you.
Wasn't he in The Hobbit? No, different guy.
Yeah, different guy.
Bombadil or something like that.
Yeah. So, in
Yeah.
addition to Flag Day, tomorrow is the big military parade downtown Washington,
Are they
D.C.
even mentioning Flag Day? Or is it just, yay Army the whole time?
The stuff that I have read has said they're doing this Army birthday, and it's also Flag Day, and it's
Okay.
also Trump's birthday.
Oh, it's Trump's birthday?
Oh, yeah. It's his 79th birthday also, which has been part of the criticism of this event, is that he specifically planned it for his birthday.
I tell you, I hate to see tanks on the streets of Washington, D.C. I saw a photograph last night of them, and these are those huge, big battle tanks too. I mean, it's just bad. I mean, especially after having put up with Nancy Pelosi's fences around the Capitol and everything, it just sends a chilling signal to me. I went to the parade honoring the military when they came back from the first Iraq War.
Yeah, 91, I think I saw was that parade.
When they kicked ass over in Kuwait.
Yeah.
And I went to it, and I don't think they had tanks. They had a number of military vehicles. They were that sand colored vehicle that.
Oh, right. Yeah. Cause that's when we went from the green camouflage to the sand camouflage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I'm sure that that's going to lead to some lawsuits of when the city of Washington then sues the federal government because they have to repair all these streets because of the damage done by tanks.
It's all worked out in advance. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think that Mayor Browser, why am I not
Bowser?
Bowser.
Yeah.
I think that she would relish an opportunity to pick on Trump.
Oh yeah, yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think they scrubbed Black Lives Matter off of the street there, so that's enough to get him riled up.
Well, not to mention their funding and taking away some of their funding and some of the other things that went on. I've forgotten all of it. But they did give them RFK Stadium.
The other thing is just it reminds me of Soviet military parades.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
With all the Politburo standing up there, next to Brezhnev or Kosygin or whoever.
It all started in France when Trump visited France during his first administration, and there was one of those style parades going on in France that year. And he was there for that. And he's like, why can't we do this in the United States? We need a parade like this. It's parade envy.
Indeed.
Yes.
Well, we're going to be in a parade tomorrow.
That's true. We are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's thanks to you. Our annual Mystery Island Day.
Yeah. Well, we can call it Cobb Island Day. It's the island has traditionally had a day every year that they celebrate being the island, and they have a parade, and it all kicks off with the Star Spangled Banner, which they've asked me kindly to sing, and so I'll be singing that tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. and then leading the parade. And you will be marching with me with your drum, and I'll be playing the fife. And It's fun.
It is fun. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to have to think about, what to wear, and maybe we should even have a little bit of practice. I don't know. I guess it's not going to be that hard to play my drum along with whatever fife tune you play.
Yeah, you did it last time.
Did I? Did I do it last year?
No, we didn't do it last year because of the sirens.
Oh, right.
I
Because
mean,
that's the other thing is that
2 years ago, when we led the parade, we were followed up by how many dozen cop and fire engine.
law enforcement.
And those sirens
yeah.
right behind you are just deafening. So
they're horrible.
I don't think anybody could hear me playing the music that was so loud. So,
well, at one point,
it hurt my ears too.
I don't think this was 2 years ago. I think this was more than that.
Yeah, maybe 3.
Because it was an election year, a local election year, which is is off from the presidential election. But it was a local election year, and I'll never forget. I was standing. That year was helping to direct the parade. And I was standing right there at that corner where the parade turns. And the local sheriff was in his sheriff's vehicle.
Yeah.
And he was like right in front of me, and I'm directing him to turn. And he blares his siren right in my face. And yeah, I was deaf for at least a week after that.
All right, you guys, tone it down. Well, our parade coordinators have assured us that they're going to be advised. They're going to be told, don't blow those sirens right behind the marching band.
Yeah, but it'll be a fun day because there's other stuff that goes on too. Just
the kids. It's
the
all
parade,
and
all
there's about the kids.
Games and booths and bad food, and
Don't say the food's bad.
It's unhealthy. It's fried.
You're not supposed to say that, though.
It's sugary. It's oily.
You're supposed to support
It's hot dogs and hamburgers and snow cones and things that you and I don't eat.
So did you make hummus sandwiches for them?
Not for them, because other people wouldn't eat it, but I'll make it for us.
Okay. We're the only healthy household on the island, apparently.
I think so. Yeah. People look at us like we have 3 heads.
Oh, no, they don't. They love us here.
Yesterday I went yesterday to help put up tents for the event and out on the field where it's held. And we have these big tents that have to be put up. And so I was out there helping. And at one point, the person who was organizing the tent said, okay, now it's time to put up the stakes, meaning the stakes that hold the tents. And I said, no stakes, I'm a vegetarian. And nobody laughed.
Oh, man.
I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Well, we started off the week here at McDuffLives with 2 readings from Andy Craig's book, Presidential Puppetry. And
interesting stuff.
It's important to keep in mind that these presidents are all picked by powers behind the scenes.
There's nothing new about that. Nothing new about that.
And it became, I say that it started with the Kennedy assassination. I'm willing to believe that Jack Kennedy was picked through a legitimate political process, although it included the mafia, right? I'm willing to believe that Nixon was picked through a legitimate political process within the Republican Party. But everybody after that, this has been the choice. These have been the choice, either left or right. Doesn't really matter because you just swing back and forth, left this year, right that year, but you control it from behind anyway. So that's where I think the puppetry really begins, is with Johnson, and then everybody after that. And it's so well documented in the presidential puppetry book as to 2 of the main characters of the 2012 era, and that is Mitt Romney and his background, and then President Obama and his background. And so we're just getting into the Obama part of the book, which is chapter 3, which I'll be reading on this coming Monday. At least I plan to, but we're going to be on.
We're going to be on the road.
A bit of a road trip, so remains to be seen. But I'm planning to do the shows.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's important. I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yeah, we can do the show next week.
Okay.
But anyway, that
We'll
was
be
that.
home,
Yeah.
before the we. So it'll just be you.
Yeah. So what else? I've also been back reading Dr. Mary's Monkey again, and reviewing a lot of my work on Ed Haslam's work, and I'm still just thrilled with his work, and I think he's his prediction of the soft tissue cancers, which he published in, I think it was like 1997, I think, when he was first published, has come true. And whether or not his theory about how that happened is true or not, well, it's the best theory I've heard. Now, George Webb wanted to discuss that with me, so I invited him on the show because he thinks that there's a different route to getting to the turbo cancer or the wide proliferation of cancer that has to do with HeLa cells. So I had read, the book, A Conspiracy of Cells by Michael Gold, and on my show, and you can listen to my reading of it at McDuffLives 3. If you just look at the playlists, I made a playlist last week, so it's convenient to everybody. And you'll read that story about the HeLa cells. As far as SV40, I would definitely recommend the book, The Viruses and Vaccines. I can't remember the name of the authors. It's right over there. I get it for you, but it goes through the whole the whole genesis of the SV40 problem, and Dr. Bernice Eddy and Sarah Stewart, and then Mary Sherman, and the amount of detail and the amount of corroboration in Ed Haslam's narrative is really overwhelming to me.
Book by D. Bookchin and Jim Schumacher.
That's it. Yeah, that's the book to study, from their academic point of view, what happened with SV40. But George thinks and says, in his opinion, that they could have grown the polio virus in the ovaries of the embryos of pregnant women, and sets forth a whole scenario around that. And it just kind of floored me because I don't see any evidence of that anywhere. He's suggesting that that was done at Tuskegee. But as the literature shows, Tuskegee was used to produce HeLa cells. It wasn't used to produce polio vaccine. So what they were doing was making the HeLa cells and sending them to Jonas Salk and other investigators, who would then use those HeLa cells to test his vaccine, his polio vaccine. So they would take the Salk polio vaccine and use it to challenge polio that was in the HeLa cell.
And how did the polio get into the HeLa cell?
It's easy. They just put it there.
Okay.
Polio is highly conducive to jumping into a HeLa cell. It's just particularly adept at doing that.
I see.
So you put the polio in the HeLa cell, and then you try to kill it with the vaccine that Jonas Salk has made. Now, Jonas Salk's vaccine, unknowing at the time, back in the 52, 53, they did not know about monkey viruses or SV40, never heard of it. Those things were discovered in the late 50s and early 60s. And that's when Dr. Bernice Eddy raised that flag and said, hey, I put this stuff into some of my monkeys and they died, so don't use this stuff. But, then they continued using it in the Sabin vaccine. The issue was that I was concerned about, the reason I started talking about HeLa cells a week ago was exactly what George was thinking, is that, wow, what if HeLa cells are the reason that all this cancer is everywhere?
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know how many hours I spent on it last night and this morning, going through AI and other means to try to find anything. And I just can't find anything at all to support George's theory. It's interesting, but it does appear to me that that's all been ruled out pretty successfully. And I'm not saying, I don't know if the SV40 is actually causing cancer. There's reports that say it does. There's reports that say that it's inconclusive. They can't decide, but because they haven't really done proper testing, and that's what I object to.
Well, but they have done some testing. I came across a report that said that SV40 was found in patients with cancer who had both who had received the vaccine and who had not received the vaccine. But in all cases, SV40 was present. So the non-vaccine recipients still somehow had SV40. So there was a correlation between cancer and SV40, but not necessarily between cancer and the polio vaccine. And that was from the NIH, a study that I read.
Yeah. So anyway, George is able to think outside the box so well. And
Yes.
The scenario that he painted is horrific, of, doctors at Tuskegee secretly working with pregnant women to infect them with polio virus so that they can develop. I mean, it's like Mengele would do. It's horrible. And if that was done, there's no evidence of it. The Lax family stood up and said, "You used my mother's cells, and they learned how to use the legal system to make a fairly large amount of money in settlement of that issue." Anybody else had been victimized at Tuskegee or anywhere else who would have been on notice to say, "Hey, there's money out there to be made. You just got to stand up and raise your hand." And nobody ever has. So I like the idea of thinking broadly, but I think it's not a choice between do you believe George Webb or Ed Haslam? It's a question of facts and science. And, while Ed Haslam's narrative has lots of facts and is connected, also to the Kennedy assassination in important ways, I think his facts are anchored pretty well in the narrative that we all can read. Whereas the assertions that George is making are just assertions. So, and that's my response to George's printing a Substack yesterday, in which he wanted to emphasize his version of it with pictures of Black mothers generating these millions of cells of polio virus, which just doesn't make sense. Sorry.
Yeah. Speaking of the Kennedy assassination, did you see that they had released some more files on the RFK assassination?
No.
Yeah, apparently the CIA released about 50 more files. I think it was 1,500 pages. But the thing that caught me in the little summary that I was reading, and I think this was from an AP article, one of the documents references the attempt to kill Castro. I mean, the headline that has been everybody's all ooh ah about is that in 1955 RFK visited the Soviet Union and then came back and briefed the CIA on what he saw over there. But, there was this brief reference to the attempt to poison Castro. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. I'd like to read that.
What did RFK do in the Soviet Union in 1955 that's controversial? Anything?
Just the fact that he briefed the CIA when he came back, I think is what is noteworthy, I guess.
So he was doing something for the CIA.
Right.
Was he a senator at that time?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. But what does that have to do with his assassination?
It's just part of the assassination files. Because you never hear about RFK's
Yeah.
files, but apparently there are many that are, classified, and those are being released as well.
Now there you see, when you get to Operation Mongoose, which Bobby Kennedy was the head of Operation Mongoose, that's a lot of secret stuff that is tied to the Murder Incorporated and the Operation 40, JM Wave in Florida, and the Cubans, and export of revolution around the world with this off-the-shelf assassination team that was created on the idea of we got to kill Castro.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't stop at killing Castro.
No.
They built a capacity to kill all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would love to see more of the RFK stuff. Is the 5412 committee, which he was also on, which was guiding the supposedly signing off on the secret CIA projects, to the extent that they knew about him. So RFK is a very interesting character.
Yes. Yes.
His personality appears to be a very big factor in that. When he wants something, he wanted it right now. He wanted it, give it to me right now. And that giving the orders, like this young lawyer is suddenly at the head of the Justice Department,
Mm-hmm.
ordering generals and people around,
and Hoover.
Yeah, do this right now.
Yeah. Well, the article said that in addition to information about the assassination in 1968 of RFK, that some of these documents contain information about JFK as well as Martin Luther King. So,
yeah,
more interesting stuff.
We got to know. We got to know the answers. If we don't know the answers, then our country is still drifting. The idea that our government was involved in the assassination of the president of our government ought to be a big, big, big theme of historical research and these committees that are looking into things.
Imagine for a second or a minute or more that it is proven some document were to be released that proves all these things.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine the fallout from that.
Now that gets back to SV40.
Okay.
Because I was asking Grok yesterday a number of questions, and one of the questions that I asked Grok was, why haven't there been studies to determine whether SV40 does or does not cause cancer in humans? And they said, well, because focus is shifted. The people that took the sugar cube, they're no longer the big part of the population. And if they were to have a publicized study, then that would create vaccine hesitancy. So national security requires that our people not be vaccine hesitant, that we be willing to roll up the sleeve at command. That's where they want us. That's what I think is so important about the efforts to disclose things now, is that the eugenics program of the past has turned into a medical tyranny program, whereas things like SV40, things like the spirochetes and the sleeper agent that Adam has documented, Adam Finnegan, in his book, The Sleeper Agent.
Right.
These things damage our immune system. And when they create immune tolerance, that means the immune system will tolerate things that it shouldn't tolerate. It will not generate antibodies. It will allow the tumors to grow. It will not act like an immune system. And when they've got everybody with lowered or absent immune responses, then they can give you what they call vaccines, which are really just going to keep you alive for a certain amount of time until you get the next vaccine. That is when they own you. Because then if you don't go to your doctor for your 6 months shot, then your immune system is not going to protect you from the next virus that hits town, or the latent viruses that are in you, like SV40, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
So that by taking away our immune systems, and this is a point where George Webb and I agree 100%, that what they're doing now is getting us weak enough so that we can't survive without what they call their vaccines, which are really just immune supplements that are going to run out after, when they run out.
Right. Well, it makes us sick. And when we get sick, they make money.
Yes. Keeping us sick. But also keeping us vulnerable to elimination, because
right.
If you say something bad on the internet, then, you don't get the dose. And
okay.
Or they give you a placebo or something,
or they give you something that your immune system can't fight off.
Yeah.
And then they say, oh, well, you got this disease that whatever, cancer or whatever.
Yeah. Which is exactly what I think they did to my dad.
Yep. Exactly. Weaken the immune system. And then, yeah.
Because, they gave him hepatitis.
Right.
In 1962. And so what does that do? That weakens your immune system terrifically. So, that's what they're doing to us by other means, by weakening our immune systems. And then now this all gets into your meat and potatoes, which is diet.
Right.
Sorry about that.
What is it? What is it? Somebody, when we were in the DR, one of the people from CNS said, use the expression bread and butter. This is our bread and butter. And she goes, I've got to find a better expression. And I said, bread and hummus. And she goes, oh, I like that. I'm going to start doing it.
Well, wait a minute. Organic whole wheat bread.
That's right. Made with no oil.
Yeah. Yeah. There's got to be an acronym for that, right?
Oh, my goodness. Yes. We could come up with something. Who knows? But, the other thing, too, with this whole immune issue that I want to understand better. One time you were talking to Adam and referenced autoimmune diseases, because really autoimmune diseases are just the opposite when you stop and think about it. It's not the immune system being paralyzed or sitting back and tolerating that these invaders are in the body. It's the immune system gone wacky and going crazy and overacting so that it's attacking your own body. And Adam said, that's the same thing. Even though it sounds like opposites, that's the same thing. And I really want to understand that better. I don't understand it exactly, other than it's the immune system malfunctioning.
Well, that's how immune tolerance is induced, by overwhelming the immune system. So you do get a huge amount of overstimulation. And that is overstimulation in the case of what you're calling an autoimmune disease might be only just part of the whole immune tolerance phenomenon.
Right.
But it's part of it, because it's causing one set of antigens to explode. And if that's...
Well, no, autoimmune diseases are an overactive immune system.
Yeah. Well, that means it creates a lot of antigens.
No, antibodies.
I'm sorry, antibodies.
Okay, yeah. It creates a lot of antibodies that then, because they don't have anything to attack, they attack, yourself, your nerves, your skin, your whatever, all those autoimmune disorders that are nothing but, your own immune system attacking yourself.
Let's see what's going on in the chat room. Anybody?
Not much.
Nobody else has anything to talk about?
No.
Wow.
Chat room's being very quiet today. Yeah. Maybe it's a Friday the 13th thing.
Well, I have some more news, which I'd like to share, and that is this book right here. You know what that is?
I know what it is.
That is my score to the opera Carmen. And that famous opera will be performed in the regional opera company Center Stage Opera in Pennsylvania and New Jersey this fall, October, November, December. So, yay, I got a gig. I'm going to be singing in
yay.
Carmen.
Yeah, those beautiful low notes that you make.
And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I'm sure going to be talking about it and maybe even sharing with people where some of those performances are going to be.
I'm thrilled. I trained a lot as an opera singer.
Yes, you did.
And then along came COVID and then my cancer, but mainly I think COVID was what knocked us out because there weren't any performances anywhere.
Right.
But the company is back on its feet. Of course, that's the company that I performed in 2023 when we did La Boheme, which was such a beautiful, beautiful opera.
That was in 23?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
It's been that long. I didn't realize that. Yeah. Well, Corky says congrats.
Yeah.
Yay. Also, Corky has good news. He signed his roofing estimate. Congratulations. Okay. Don't know if you caught it, Corky, but we went through that a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, congrats on your Carmen gig. And the role you're playing is?
Oh, I get to play the big police chief, or the chief of the Corps du Garde, the frontier police, the frontier guards. His name is Zuniga.
Zuniga.
Yeah, yeah, and old Carmen and him don't agree very much on anything, so there's a little tussling going on there.
Yeah, that's actually one of the roles that I remember seeing you in, that funny school in Annapolis.
Yeah, we did Carmen a few years ago.
Yeah. In fact, I think I videotaped that, so somewhere you have video of it.
Oh, we should post it. Yeah.
Or at least, post part of it. I don't remember if you had an aria or not.
Yeah. Another book I got this week, The American Axis. And I know David Cranmer Underdown will be interested in this, by Max Wallace. Henry Ford, Charles Lindbergh, and the Rise of the Third Reich. Detroit facilitating the rise of the Third Reich.
Wow.
Through American industry, through Henry Ford, and anti-Semitism and now all of that. So this is very interesting. It's a very lengthy and well-documented book. I'm looking forward to getting into it. Well, Marcia, I'll tell you what. I think we've done 50 minutes this morning, and without any comments, I'm inclined to go ahead and call it a day. What do you think?
I'm okay with that. I mean, folks out there are ready to move on and get the weekend started. So let's hope that everybody has a great weekend, and happy Flag Day to all.
Yes. Okay. Happy Flag Day. It's a grand old flag. It's a high flying flag. Yeah. It's the emblem of the land I love, the home of the free and the brave. Every heart beats true for the red, white, and blue, where there's never a boast nor brag. But in all acquaintance be forgot, keep your eye on the grand old flag. Huzzah! All right, bye-bye, everybody.